St. Paul's Youth Ministry from Princeton, New Jersey.
Connecting faith and life.
And you're watching Realfaith TV!
Peer pressure is kind of like a feeling that you get when your friends want you to do something and you know it's wrong, but you feel like if you don't do it, you're going to miss out on it.
They don't want to be left out and rejected.
Like an individual or a group of individuals pressures you to do something that they think is cool, or sometimes it's just like they're pressuring you to do something that maybe you don't want to do.
They're more pressured to drink, go out to parties, not do what their homework or do what their parents say to them to do, wear the most inappropriate clothes that they're not allowed to wear, hide things from their parents.
Stealing, doing pranks on people, drugs, and alcohol.
The people who want to seem more into the crowd, they want to seem wanted and special and loved.
Negative peer pressure could be, here, you should try these drugs or alcohol or anything like that. And it doesn't affect me that much because I know what choices to make and what the difference between good and bad. And I think it's very important to know that. And through God, it helps you too. So I think that your conscience definitely helps with making good choices. And also your parents, they teach you when you're young the difference between good and bad. And I think that all equates to help you cope with peer pressure.
For me, it really helps thinking about the consequences of what I'm going to do. Will I be proud of this later, or am I just going to regret what I did? And I kind of think that true friends wouldn't put you in the circumstances that you have to make that decision.
Hey Juliana, what do you think? Am I rocking these shades?
Oh yeah, what do you think about mine?
Awesome! I think we've got what it takes to be part of the in crowd.
Oh yeah, we've got it going on.
All kidding aside.
Yeah, teenagers are notorious for creating groups that define what's in and out and popular and unpopular.
God forbid we fall on the wrong side of what today's cool looks like.
How do we react when faced with peer pressure?
What does our faith teach us about standing up for our own beliefs?
Peer pressure. That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Juliana.
And I'm Michael.
And this is Realfaith TV. We'd like to thank the youth group of St. Paul Parish in Princeton, New Jersey for helping us open our show today.
And for sharing their views on what peer pressure looks like to them.
We'll hear from them again a little later in the show, but first, let's meet our spotlight guest, John, a Realfaith TV cast member.
He'll talk about how he defines peer pressure.
And how it's often more attractive to be part of the crowd rather than our own person.
So peer pressure is basically what it sounds like. It's a pressure or a stress from peers, people of the same societal standard as you, so students on students, athletes, coworkers, or even siblings. And it's like a stress to sort of be similar to them. Now that I'm older, I don't normally give in to peer pressure. I don't put myself in situations where I would feel the need to do what others are doing. So if there's a party coming up and I know it's gonna be trouble, I'm not gonna put myself in situations where I can make bad decisions based off of what other people tell me to do. Oh, I think peer pressure can definitely be positive. I've had some friends that I really trust tell me, this is a good thing to do. I've had 2 friends this past year that were like, oh, you should come with us to African American Diversity Day. And I was like, oh, I don't think I really belong there. I really don't think that's for me. And they were like, no, we really want you there. And they were sort of pressuring me into it, oh, we're not gonna talk to you if you don't go. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll go. And it was a really awesome experience because it was about diversity. not everyone was supposed to be the same, and I think that's what made it a really awesome experience, and I was really glad that I had friends who cared enough about me to pressure me into something for my own good. Wanting to be part of the crowd and then wanting to be your own person is definitely a contradiction, but it's totally true for all teenagers. Like, everyone wants to fit into that, clique that they aspire to be a part of, but they also want to be like their own unique individual. It's a contradiction, but it's still something that's intrinsic to teenagers, that they want to be part of the group, but they want to be their own special person. So in middle school, I really gave into peer pressure a lot. On the first few days of classes, I would always run into the classroom, get there early, sit in the front row, and always be ready to learn. And then all the other kids would come in late, and they'd sit towards the back, and I'd be like, "Why are you sitting in the back? You can't hear if you sit in the back." And then so slowly I started to change my habits to, slouching at my desk, coming late to class because it's what everyone else was doing, and you didn't want to be the kid that was early and on time and paying attention to school. Now, I really don't care what people think of me. I'm looking out for my own best interests, so if getting in the front of the classroom is gonna help me learn better, that's definitely where I'm gonna be.
I think it's really cool how John was talking about how he doesn't put himself in the situation where he feels like he might be peer pressured to do something bad.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think that peer pressure is not only negative, but it can also be positive too.
It really is. Well, let's see what our studio guests have to say about the topic.
Okay, they are Ryan,
Monique,
Lexi,
Danny,
Joe,
Naira.
and Jenna.
So what do you guys think drives peer pressure, and how do you think it's different from bullying?
Peer pressure really comes from your friends or people you think are your friends, I feel, and then bullying can just be it can be anyone. It's most of the time it's not your friend, I feel. It's just some random person that targets you.
And I think what drives it is people trying to be someone they're not and be in that in-group. And sometimes if it's their friends in that in-group, they want to stay friends with that person, and they almost feel bad if they say no to whatever they're asking.
Dictionary.com defines peer pressure as social pressure by members of one's peer group to take a certain action, adopt certain values, or otherwise conform in order to be accepted.
The problem with peer pressure is that it typically fails to respect the free will and conscience of each person in the group.
Groups can develop a mob-like attitude that attempt to make decisions on behalf of the whole group.
Having experienced peer pressure at different points in his life, our spotlight guest John shares why he thinks people engage in it.
And how it's not restricted to age or background, but rather to the kinds of people we are and want to be.
I think it's who you are as a person is going to decide whether or not you follow the crowd or you stand out. Because I know people who are older than me who do what everyone tells them to do. I know people who are younger than me who do what they want to do. I don't think it's an age restriction kind of deal. It's who you are. So most things that teens feel pressured into doing are, drinking, smoking, cheating on tests. I think a lot of people are pressured in the sense to fit in, so they have to change how they look or what they wear. Even simple stuff of what music they listen to, because if they like something that no one else likes, they don't fit in. So when you get in the car with them, you can't listen to your music anymore, so you have to do what everyone else does so you belong. I think teens, to get other teens to participate in activities they wouldn't normally do, they normally be like, "Oh, you're the only one. You're the only one that's not doing this." They really make you feel like an outsider, or really make you feel like you're missing out on something that everyone's doing. And if everyone's doing it, how could it be wrong? And I think you just have to realize that okay, not everyone's doing this obviously because everyone's not in the room right now. So I think teens really try to pressure other people into doing things with them to lessen the negativity that they feel. So if someone's also doing this with them, they're not doing as bad of a thing. So that's why they try to group as many people into it as possible. So there was this party after one of our plays, and everyone was invited, but I knew bad things were gonna go down. There was gonna be alcohol and stuff, and I just knew it wasn't the right thing for myself. But then there was this underclassman girl who was she really wanted to go, and I was kind of skeptical because I knew she was very impressionable and she could easily be pulled into these things. And part of me was oh, I have to go now to watch out for her, to sort of protect her, because she was a really good friend of mine and I didn't want to make bad choices. So the best thing to do was, like, I told her that I wasn't going, like, you know, like, oh, I'm not gonna be there, like, it's not really, like, worth my time. Like, try to be like, oh, like, this isn't the cool place to be. So we both ended up not going, so it was kind of a way to, like, protect her and do the right thing.
So how does peer pressure affect you? Can you easily dismiss it, or does it tempt you?
It's something that we all kind of experienced a lot more in middle school, but as we get older, I would say at least I have built more of a resistance to it because I'm starting to realize, you know, what's important, and I'm really starting to develop my own moral code and take my faith as my own, and so I find it easier to resist it now.
Yeah, my mom always told me to be a leader, not a follower, but now as I grow older, like it's more important to be yourself than to be in the in-group.
Right.
Yeah. And throughout life, when you gain and lose friends, you find out who's really important to you and who will actually like support you and not make you do certain things that you don't want to. So.
Like your real friends might try to pressure you into it, but they'll understand when you don't want to do it instead of keep pressuring you or possibly not be your friend because you don't want to do it.
Yeah, just like John, I also have a party story. I went to a party when I was a sophomore, and I figured out, you know, a sophomore going to a senior party, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be awesome, I'm the time of my life. I only stayed for 2 hours, and it turned out to be a terrible party. A lot of bad decisions were being made by other people there. So I called my brother, and he picked me up. But I mean, yeah, I thought, you know, going to a senior party would make me, like, you know, like would make me great, you know, would give me a bunch of stories to tell to people. But it just goes to show that it was not great, and you know, you don't have to go to like the party to, you know, be seen as a great kid.
I was invited to like the same thing as John, a cast party for drama, and I knew there was gonna be alcohol there, but I just went knowing that I wasn't gonna drink, I was just gonna have a fun time. And I had friends who were drinking, but I still just enjoyed and like kept to myself and, you know, had fun.
Yeah, like Joe and John, I also had a party, but for me, it was like John said, they wanted me to make me feel like I was the only one that wouldn't be there. And that really was the kick, because I was like, well, I'm gonna end up seeing this all over social media anyway, so I might as well go and see what it actually is like. So when I got there, it was just the worst experience. It was awful. Now thinking back to it, I should have just dismissed the idea of being at that party because it wasn't right for me anyway.
Usually we think about peer pressure in regards to bad things like sex, drugs, stealing, and lying.
However, even in the case of wanting to do something good, it is always important that we respect the conscience of others.
No one should be bamboozled into making a decision that goes against one's conscience and conviction.
Sometimes we may experience coaxing from friends, parents, or coaches who want us to try something new for our own benefit.
Some of these kinds of pressures can be quite positive and even the catalyst that we need that help shape long-term decisions and goals.
For our wildcard guest Colin, a member of the St. Paul Parish Youth Group, he was hesitant to join his high school football team when asked by a coach.
But with a little nudging from a friend, he decided to take a chance and expand his horizons.
Let's hear his story now.
When I was a freshman, there was a little bit of pressure from a teacher who kept asking, hey, do you want to join the football team? Do you want to join the football team? And originally I was like, no, I'm not going to do that or whatever. And eventually, as time went on, my friend was like, hey, I think you should try this. And I'm like, I thought about it for a little while, and he kept asking, hey, you going to join? You going to join? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I tried it out, and it turned out it was a pretty good experience, I would say. And I didn't continue on my sophomore year, but I did have a good time my freshman year. What my friend was trying to do by getting me to join the team was to like open my horizons to something that I've never tried before. And I think that was a really positive thing for me personally, because without that, I probably would have never thought to join the team.
So has peer pressure ever resulted in a positive lesson for you or someone you know?
I had a friend who's very quiet, and going into high school, she wanted to join new clubs. So I asked her, I was like, hey, do drama with me. You know, you'll be more outgoing if you join. And she's in it now, and we both love it, and it's her favorite club.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I had a friend who was in a friendship with another person, and that person, she didn't realize that person was trying to destroy her life and like bring her into things that she wasn't supposed to be a part of. And finally she came to the realization that she shouldn't be with this person, and she had to cut her off. And I think that was one of the most positive things that could have happened, because now she is such a better person today.
I'm a cheerleader, and when someone doesn't have a skill, we make a circle around them and actually make them stand in the middle and do the skill. So for me, it was my toe touch back tuck, and I didn't even know that I could attempt it, let alone actually do it. And when in the hype of everything, I threw it, and it not only made me better as a cheerleader, but my team as a whole. So.
In my own personal experience, one of my friends, Lauren, a cast member of Realfaith TV, actually convinced me to come onto the show. And originally, I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I can't. I don't want to be on TV. It was like, ooh. But over time, I sat through the first episode, and I was like, okay, this is actually pretty cool. And then I ate lunch with you guys, and you were all really nice, and I made a lot of friends here. And eventually, I came onto the second episode, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was really a great experience.
Well, you realize that we don't bite. We're a nice group of people, so you're going to be here all week, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're glad to have you.
In his letter to the Romans, chapter 12, St. Paul tells us, "Do not conform yourselves to this age, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind,
that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and pleasing and perfect."
God should always be at the center of our decision-making, not the most popular kid at school or the loudest person in our friend group.
We live in a culture that showcases pornography, abuse, addiction, abortion, and so much more.
We reject these things and anything else contrary to God.
In their place, we say yes to things like truth, beauty, and goodness.
We say yes to love everyone, even the kids who aren't so cool. We say yes to honor and respect our parents.
We say yes to community, the Mass, and prayer.
Next, John talks about the temptation associated with peer pressure.
And how, as a senior in high school, he discovered ways to guide younger students in more positive directions.
You know, it can be tempting, especially when it's people that you trust and, like good friends of yours that you have respect for and, you have a love for. And it's hard to, sort of reject them. So I think it's harder the closer you are to a person. But most often than not, if it's a stranger, I have no problem telling them what I think. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I'll do whatever you say. It's not that kind of thing. All my best friends wanted to go to the beach in Maryland for a week after we graduated. They rented out a house. They all told their parents that they were, gonna be out there with each other, obviously. And before I could tell my parents, and before they could even say no, I was like, Mom, I rejected it for myself. I didn't want to do that. Because I knew my parents would say no anyway, but I didn't want to be there because I just knew nothing good could come out of that, of 10 teenagers being alone in a different state at the beach. So yeah, it was hard telling them that I didn't want to be there with them, but I definitely made the right choice. So once I became a senior, the younger students, look up to the seniors. So when I didn't do what everyone else asked, or I didn't succumb to the similar things that people do, hopefully in my eyes, I seem to make a difference in the younger students. So for me, I think I was able to become a role model that I needed when I was their age. I took chemistry as a senior because my schedule got all messed up. I was the only senior in the class of sophomores. It was an honors class, so these kids felt like it was okay. Talk down to other kids who weren't honors students. They felt all in charge because they were the honors, they were the top ones, and the not honors kids were not the top ones. But for some reason, senior trumps honors students. So when I told them that wasn't okay, and being mean to other students is never cool. I don't know why you think being smarter than someone makes you better. They all were like, oh yeah, we totally agree with you. No, we're done. And for the rest of the year, they were just really quiet. They always asking me for what was the good things to do and always getting my advice. And I was like, oh yeah, this is what you should do. And so I was able to pressure them in a positive way.
So how do you guys think friends and family can help pressure us in the right ways?
Well, I know for me, I'm a really big fan of movies, more so Disney movies. So my mom knows this about me, and when there's something that's going around like a party with my friends, but I know that nothing good will come of it, I don't want to be there, she'll let's go watch Cinderella 5 times tonight and eat some ice cream. She's always great that way when she doesn't make me feel like I should put myself in that position to understand what it would be like. She's just nope, we're gonna watch The Lion King. We're not gonna do this tonight.
Yeah, same for me. My parents, if they know I'm gonna be somewhere where something of that nature might happen, they always prepare me and be like, look, Ryan, as an athlete, if your coaches or one of your teammates find out and everybody starts talking, I don't know if that's going to be the best thing for you. So for me, my parents like preparing me really helped me with peer pressure.
Yeah, when I was younger, my mom was always like, oh, you can tell me anything, but when you're younger, you're afraid that your mom's gonna say something or go up to the school if something happens. But now that I got older, like, it's really awesome to think that I can go home and tell my mom anything, and she's kind of like a friend that I can confide in all the time.
Yeah, I completely agree. My mom, I always say my mom's my best friend because I tell her everything. Like, my friends will make fun of me because they lie to their parents, but I don't. And I can always turn to my parents and my brothers to have, like, advice for peer pressure.
Every time like I'm in a bad situation, my mom always says, you can blame stuff on me. I will back you up. You can blame things on me. So we have like a safe word. If I text her, she'll know that I'm in a bad situation and I need an excuse to leave.
Yeah, I just use my parents as an excuse to get out of like place I don't want to go. Like, if I know that there's a party coming up and I have no chance of my parents letting me go, I just tell them right off the bat my mom won't let me go. Like, my friends probably think my parents are a lot stricter than they actually are because I use them so much, but...
Yeah, I do that sometimes too. Like, my friends, if they ask me to go somewhere, I'll just pin it back on my mom and be like, sorry, like, my mom's making me clean before I do anything or go anywhere. But I know my mom has told me since I was a little kid, if I ever go somewhere and wind up in a bad situation, all I have to do is text her and she'll come and get me, and she won't be mad at me as long as I just text her and be like, can you come pick me up?
So what advice would you give someone facing peer pressure?
That's what we asked St. Paul Parish Youth Group in Princeton.
Let's hear what they had to say.
The advice I would give to someone who is under peer pressure, I would say just be yourself. God made you the way he wanted you to be. He made you perfect.
He will always love you. It doesn't matter what you think of yourself or what you think others think of yourself. He always sees you as perfect.
They feel like they don't want to do it, but they're not strong enough to stand up. They can pray to God, and he will give them the strength to stand up.
Yeah, I get a feeling, a gut feeling that, like, I know this is wrong and I shouldn't be doing this.
Well, you can know based on your conscience, and it tells you what's good and bad.
My faith definitely helps me cope with peer pressure because, like, if you look in the Bible, it'll definitely help you to know what is right and wrong. It all helps to know that God is there and to lead you through the pressure.
Being part of the youth group here at St. Paul's has allowed me to be with people who share my ideals and beliefs and who won't encourage me to do things that are against what I believe in. If you're feeling peer pressure, I think it's really useful to call on the Spirit and ask for strength and courage so that you can face whatever problem without fear.
Faith can help someone resist peer pressure by showing them that they're loved not only by earthly beings, but by God, who loves them infinitely more than anyone else could and will never judge, or he always forgives him as well.
If we find that we are giving in more and more to the temptations of peer pressure, we must evaluate our situation and who we are surrounding ourselves with.
Who are we spending most of our time with? Are they friends who support our beliefs and convictions, even if they don't share them?
Or are they friends who poke and prod?
Do they tempt and tease us to do things we believe are wrong?
If so, can we really call these people friends?
Lastly, John discusses the ways he avoids peer pressure altogether.
And provides examples in the Bible where we can learn the lessons of giving in to outside pressure.
Don't align yourself with people who are gonna pressure you. I've taken a long time to find those friends that I knew respected me, to know that my opinions were important to me. So they wouldn't really ask me to do something I was uncomfortable with. So I think that's really the most important thing, is to make sure you have those true friends that are almost like family, because your family would never make you do something that would hurt you. So it's like a mutual respect and a mutual love, that you have to surround yourself with people who really care about you. But if you do find yourself in those situations where it's like, oh, like I feel uncomfortable, but I have to do this, the way I normally approach the situation is logically like, oh, like I won't do this because of X, Y, and Z. So like if someone was like, if you're a vegetarian, say, and someone comes up to you and you're like, oh, have this hamburger. You're like, oh no, I don't eat that. And they're like, well, just eat it. You're gonna be like, no, I don't eat animals for X, Y, and Z. So like if someone tries to put a drink in your hand, you can just be like, oh, I don't drink because of these reasons that are important to me. Pilate was a major biblical figure who succumbed to peer pressure. He had the choice of either releasing Barabbas or Jesus, and what the people asked for was the release of Barabbas, which he knew to be wrong and that Jesus was innocent, but instead he did what the people who followed him asked of him, and he did not stick to what he knew to be true. A good Bible passage that talks about like standing out from peer pressure that I think is very important. It's Proverbs, I think. It's like the man who walks with the wise becomes wise, and the man who aligns himself with fools harms himself. So it's basically like who you surround yourself with. If you surround yourself with smart people that don't make bad decisions, you're gonna be a smart person that doesn't make bad decisions. And so I think that was very important for me in high school, is that I surrounded myself with people who cared about me and did the right thing.
So how can a relationship with God help us to confront peer pressure and turn it into a positive?
Well, I think a relationship with God is really important because at a time for me, I was hanging out with probably not the best group of friends, and I turned to God to help, and I ended up switching friend groups, and the positive was I met new friends, and I'm still friends with them to this day.
I think it's really hard sometimes to go through situations like peer pressure like all alone. So if you know that you can turn to someone, especially God, that it'll be easier for you to overcome.
Yeah, and I feel like through prayer you can ask God for like the courage and strength to say no to peer pressure.
Like Joe said earlier, how peer pressure usually comes from your friends. I know that for me, God is my greatest friend. So when I don't want to deal with my earthly friends because they're doing negative things or things I don't believe in, I can always turn to him and he'll always be there for me.
Mm-hmm. I know something that's really big in our generation is the pressure to have a physical relationship with another boyfriend or girlfriend. I will try to stand my ground in my morals at that point and try to lead them by example, because, you know, I wear a purity ring to just signify that I am saving myself for my future husband, if that's what God is calling me to. So I feel that we can best show other people how to avoid peer pressure by leading by example.
I think it's really awesome how you have a physical reminder of.
Thank you.
If you're being pressured to do something you aren't sure about, don't be afraid to open up to someone older and wiser than you.
They might see the situation with greater clarity and help you navigate it.
Find alternatives to the activities you can say no to.
Find other opportunities that you can say yes to.
Go hiking for the day if you aren't going to the unchaperoned beach party.
Or cook an awesome meal with friends if you're going to pass on the party you know as alcohol.
Whatever you do, spend some time learning about our faith. It is interesting to see that when you read the Bible, that issues like peer pressure have been around for a long time.
Yeah. In the book of Genesis, we read that the snake pressured Eve, who then pressured Adam to eat the forbidden fruit.
Things haven't changed much in all these years.
But with the grace of God, we can stay strong and not give in to negative peer pressure.
What are some ways that you're rejecting peer pressure?
We want to hear from you.
Contact us at realfaithtv.com.
Or send us a tweet.
And we will leave you today with this final thought.
Be strong and trust that the Lord will give you the strength to resist peer pressure.
Remember this from St. Paul's letter to the Philippians, chapter 4.
I have the strength for everything through him who empowers me.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Real Faith TV.
God bless.